Fine, I guess we're gonna have to take the fight to Berga for a little bit. Then we'll go back for some storytelling. I already showed off this stage during the Like a Dragon stream, because I got frustrated with Yakuza and wanted a break. Just saying, the atmosphere of this stage is wonderful. These things serve as barriers to your progress. The bubble stream you can't get past. I guess it's too dense or something. I don't know. You logic it. Ow. But you can push the jet stream away, and if it gets to an air pocket like this, then it explodes, giving you free energy core. To escape like a dragon stage, I wanted to be a dragon. Yeah, exactly! Or, in my case, when I was playing then, I was actually a wildcat, so... yeah, about that. Kickies. I still maintain these are the most annoying enemies in this game. Or, among the most. I don't know how to safely approach them. I'd also like to mention that Lilac has one other unique trait that other characters don't have. She can survive underwater for longer than most. Makes sense, being a water dragon. Take that. Woo! The stage can be fairly quick if you know what you're doing. And if you're looking for some of the part-time achievements, this is probably one of your quickest ways to get that. Hell, you can even get the half-part achievement. So in essence, clearing a stage within half of the part-time. There are only so many stages in which it's actually viable. This is one of them. Woo! Ah, damn it, wrong way. Wrong way. Ow. Need to go in the center pit. Whoop! Here we go. Pew. And just in case, get a barrier. Whoop. Get me out of here. Almost there. Woo! There are dangerous bits of sharp kelp around. I believe they deal nature damage. Don't quote me on that. They might be metal for all I know. But it's not hard navigating at all. Astral! Quoted on the wiki. Wait, quoted what?!
So you've come. And alone, even. I hope to earn that mark of respect.
Why call me out here, Murga?
We had many names once. Then the Earth Dragons came and took those names away from us. We were their brothers and sisters of the sea, and given just one name. Water Dragon. We were to be redeemed and remade in order to accomplish a necessary duty. I suppose it was in our favor that we were the most biologically compatible species on this planet. Out of our union was conceived a child, Bakunawa. And once she was born, well, they'd taken our names already. What else could they have taken from us?
I didn't know. I'm sorry.
Hatchling, Sash Lilac, come with me.
What?
There is nothing left for us here. We can go and never return. Leave the Earth Dragons to their machinations and fly to a new world.
And what happens to this world?
Does it matter? I
She's
see.
sounding buzzy again.
In that case,
What's this meant to be?
a clever ruse.
No! Not gonna!
I'm impressed. That should have rendered you unconscious immediately. Not to worry. You will have plenty of time to forgive me once I awaken Bakunawa.
Sneak attack!
Hold on, Lilac! This potion will fix you right up!
Guys, you came.
All right, giant fish lady, back off! Unless you want a face full of punchies!
Indeed. Your schemes end here, Murga. Bakunawa will not rise this day.
About that.
What was that?
A redirection of the island's volcanic pressure to key fault lines. You may have disabled a few of our beacons, but not all.
Impossible. You needed Pengu. It was a vital component.
This line always bothered me. 'Cause, like, maybe Pengu is, like, some type of key or somewhat for the ship, for Bakunawa to activate. But even then, I feel like I'm missing a couple pieces of the puzzle on this. Maybe it's just me.
I'm no fool. It was installed well before your arrival.
No, we're too late.
Indeed, and that is why it is you who shall end here.
In this last section of the stage, you're gonna be chased by Bakunawa's Death Beam. Well, I say Death Beam, but it's not exactly gonna kill you if you take all the damage from it. It will leave you very, very hurting, so make sure to make fast progress. On the bright side, there isn't a boss to this stage. Yet another reason why this particular stage is good for speedrunning. Being blasted again. Yes, Team Rocket's blasting off again.
warfares of luxurious sky fortress. Now with extra cannons. Hold on!
And just like in the first game, hi, have a surprise shooter section. If you wanted to get the achievement for clearing a stage without getting hit once, this would be your means to do so. Just bear in mind that your hitbox is a little bit hard to see and very specific. There are a few colored bits of pixel on the center of the ship. That is the hitbox. That is the hitbox. And it's so obnoxiously hard to see. Freedom Planet 1 was guilty of this too, during the canon section on that. It was impossible to see where your particular hitbox was. And hell, I even still struggle with this stage. Specifically because it's so hard to see.
Hear me, Magister. The weapon that you
Still no
Earth
salad bar.
Dragons created that brought
Regrettably,
so many
extra
upon
cannons,
will now
zero
be my
salad.
salvation. Bakunawa will rise to the
We do have sour
top
cream,
of
though.
our world, giving her the energy she needs to lead this solar system.
Oh,
And we
I
will
guess
sail
colliding with those
far
also hurts
while
you.
this world rocks.
I didn't know that. Good to
This
know.
planet is yours. Long may you reign vainglorious over a dead world.
And now our antagonist has gone off the deep end. A little too happy to obliterate Earth Dragon civilization. And our boss. It's a giant enemy crab. Attack its weak point for massive damage. It is actually possible to tick down all of the bits of the crab, but even after you've done that, you're still gonna need to punch it in its core to finish it off. So why not just directly shoot at its core and nothing else? There's no point. You can tick out the other claws again, and it does cut down on the shotsum, but you don't necessarily need to do all that. Just stay close to the center as much as possible, maybe a little off-center so you don't get hit by that beam attack, and there you go. Giant enemy crap! And even with all that effort, Murga still gets away.
There's no way we'd catch up with her now! She's flying too high and too fast!
This can't be happening.
I won't let it!
Lilac!
She tries. Drastically fails.
No!
Oh So, the moon looks pretty undevoured.
What just happened?
The fool! She's clearly too far away for the mining laser to be effective. Unhand me at once! The cooperative General Serpentine is on your side, and he has a plan.
Let him go. We have an agreement. And you, talk.
It's simple. I have a small ship capable of chasing down the stolen weapon and evading any detection systems she may have on board. which is more than I can say for your flying whale here.
Hey! Don't you listen to him, Mirzal's luxurious sky fortress. He's just a mean, jealous reptile.
You will turn this vehicle over to us immediately, Snake. We will use it to take the fight to Murga.
Excuse me. First of all, it's my ship, so only I can pilot it. And second of all, no passengers. For the velocity I need to catch up to Bakunawa, I need the ship to be as light as possible.
So we are to put the fate of the world in your hands. I think not.
Darn it, why would I want the world destroyed? I can't rule over slag! Actually, I think Serpentine wants to destroy it himself.
Maybe you could compensate for the additional weight.
He just wants an extra weapon to do so. And it also gives him a means to get back to
Calculations
Brevin.
involved would be... Why even talk about it? I might have been able to do it with syntax, but without the drone, I'm just wasting my breath.
So that's it then. Murga really has won.
I'm going to talk to Serpentine.
Mila,
Don't worry. I can make him change his mind.
Never thought I'd see this place again. It's in pretty good shape.
Good work, General. It's good to be home.
Yeah, all things considered, this is the tidiest invasion ever. Wish all of our invaders were this neat.
Good news, everyone! Serpentine's agreed to take us with him!
Yes! Out of the goodness of my reptilian heart, I've
Sure,
decided
goodness.
that all 5 of us will stop the menace that is Murga.
Thanks, Serpentine. And great work, Mila. How did you manage to convince him?
Oh, I just made a promise. No biggie.
I hope you're all exactly as heavy as you look. Otherwise, this will be a short trip.
Rude assessment of our collective weight aside, I assume this interjection means we are ready to leave?
Weren't you listening to me before? I still need syntax for the vector calculations.
Then our course is clear. Track down Spade, beat him to within an inch of his life, and take syntax back from his broken fingers.
Sounds like a plan. We'll hold the fort down here. Before you go, though, Magister wants to see you girls. Something urgent, he says.
yo, Magister, what's up?
Magister.
You summoned us, oh exalted one?
Thank you for coming. I wish to share the results of my research regarding Murga and the Water Dragon people. At first, what I found merely reaffirmed everything we already knew. That the Water Dragons turned violent. That Murga was their greatest warrior. That many Shangtusians died defending themselves from the Perusian scourge. Then I realized that the books I had read were all written by Earth Dragons and their descendants. I scoured the library for any book that could possibly recount history from a Water Dragon's perspective. I found it within a handwritten book of flowers and horticulture. There were various annotations by the author describing what was then to her current events. If what she wrote is true, then I'm so sorry, Lilac. Murga is right to be angry.
Magister.
I was hoping that, perhaps by speaking to her, I could persuade her from this course. Her grudge is against my people. The rest of the world need not suffer for our arrogance and conspiracy. But I suppose that hope is extinguished now.
That depends.
No, I don't believe that.
Are you mad? She commands an aerial fortress capable of intergalactic flight and eating moons! The time to appeal to her better nature has long since passed.
Maybe I just don't want to be the last water dragon anymore, but I still want to try. The last centurion of a long-gone race? Isn't that someone worth talking to?
Someone
It
of
is.
your own blood. Yeah, I get that.
Someone who may be afraid of being nothing more than a weapon.
Someone with the courage and discipline to do what is needed to be done.
All of the highlighted text here revolves around each character's individual stories. Carol's story is about flesh and blood and protecting family. Nira's story is supposed to be about maintaining order and doing what needs to be done, despite it being difficult. Mila's sounds a bit strange here. Being a living weapon? About that. Within Mila's story, it is declassified, and we do get a bit of this later when we inevitably fight Serpentine again. There was always a burning question within Freedom Planet 1. Where the hell did Mila come from, anyway? Like, it was assumed that she was some type of refugee from Brevin's conquering, but she's not native to Avalis, actually. Serpentine declassifies that Mila is a sort of biological weapon that Brevin created. Whether she even has parents to miss in the first place is unknown. And this is also vaguely alluded to within her character design too, with bracelets of green and orange representing both Brevin, her creator, and also herself.
Very well. I suppose we can attempt to do the right thing. Should the situation arise.
Have I come at a bad time?
Maybe.
We acknowledge and welcome the King of Shuigang in the court of Shangtu.
Your Majesty! Hi!
King Dale, to what do we owe this unexpected pleasure?
Oh, this is just a casual state visit. I realized that we never properly thanked you for all your assistance in Shuigang. So I brought along this beautiful gift. And this wretched scoundrel of a brother.
Spade.
He busted me. I'm good. My men have the syntax drone under guard outside. From what I've gathered, you will need it to take down this Bakunawa?
Magnificent! You four, finish your business here. Once I've installed syntax on my ship, I'll be leaving immediately, so don't be late.
Adversity makes for strange bedfellows, it seems.
Indeed. I must make a request. When you encounter Murga, allow me to speak with her. Your communicator can act as a relay between us. I wish to make amends.
Good luck with that.
All right.
The music kicks in whenever he speaks.
Belay that! These are our allies, for now.
Right. So is
To credit,
Syntax all fixed up
Serpentine's
for the
theme
ship
is just
now?
amazing. Oh, she's getting closer. Still far, though.
There, all done. Now
We leave right now.
Excellent! To Bakunawa! What did you pack? Rocks?
Just brought a few potion materials to be on the safe side. And some lab equipment and safety equipment and...
Bah! Whatever! You're lucky I overcompensated for how heavy you lot are fourfold!
Rude assessment of our weight aside.
Engage!
As you wish, sir.
Pew.
Battle analysis complete. Sensors confirm a code black compatibility of 91%.
Remember this.
Brilliant! Then I'm heading straight for the power core!
You mean you know how to get there? Right. Of course not.
These are the final stages of the game. But before we get to them, we're going on a bit of a side quest. See, ahead of time, I've already captured all of the cores on Carol's end, and I figure we could take a brief break to listen to them. This also gets us to the final topic that I wanted to discuss pertaining to this game. Murga. And this one's a bit of a denser subject, so bear with me. And I may botch this because it's a little close to political jargon, so bear with me.
New entry, Cordelia, personal. Subject, Avaliste. After many years, the rest...
Oh, wait, oops. Here we go.
New entry, Cordelia, personal. Subject, Bakunawa Rising. Bakunawa is now undergoing a full evaluation of the ship's systems. We are weeks away from having a fully functional spacecraft again. This is so exciting. However, I'm sad to report that not everyone shares in that excitement. There have been rumblings of dissatisfaction from the laborers working on Bakunawa's restoration, complaining about long hours and dangerous conditions. I think it's just a bunch of backtalk from some people who've had it too good for too long. My maid Perlis agrees, and she's one of them. Fortunately, she's one of the good ones. Spirits know some of these ocean dwellers need to learn their place. End entry. New entry, Cordelia, personal. Subject, Bakunawa abandoned. Something went wrong. We think it was an accident. I really don't know what to believe right now. The Bakunawa restoration project has been shut down. The ocean dwellers are angry. All of them. Perlis is gone, and so have all our other ocean dweller servants. When I asked Father where they went, he insisted that they'd taken time off to celebrate some kind of holiday. He wouldn't look at me when he told me that. When I asked about what happened with Bakunawa, he told me to mind my own business, still refusing to look at me. I think we've done something truly terrible today. End entry.
Some people have theorized that the Ancestral Forge was once the place where Bakunawa was being created, if not a mine used for the materials. At one point, it is reasoned that Bakunawa was misfired. Whether it was intentional or otherwise doesn't matter. Thousands upon thousands of ocean dragons were killed as a result.
New entry, Cordelia, personal. Subject, ocean dweller rumors. There's been talk of some kind of new threat arising from the ocean dwellers. A champion of immeasurable power, biologically engineered for war. I don't know how substantial these rumors are, but given their current level of righteous descent, I wouldn't dismiss their ability to craft such a beast. Father is convinced that we've run out of options for dealing with these savages. If that's the case, then there isn't much time left. I have to act without his permission. I will leave the capital and head for Perusa to negotiate some kind of peace with the ocean dwellers. Surely they'll listen to reason. We're all living on this planet together, after all. End entry. New entry, Cordelia, personal. Subject, trapped. My ocean dweller hosts have decided that, as the Magister's daughter, I would be more useful to them as a hostage.
Can you blame them?
Marvelous. The nature of my imprisonment
Kinda
was
served itself
discussed
up
in
on
a
a
meeting
silver
between
platter.
the ocean dwellers' elders and I, by which I mean I was present while a bunch of old men talked about me as if I wasn't there. It was several minutes before I realized what I'd assumed was a statue was actually another living being. But I knew who it had to be. The ocean dweller's champion. She was tall, dark, imposing, and she was staring directly at me the entire time. It was unsettling. Oh, Cordelia, what have you gotten yourself into? End entry. New entry, Cordelia, personal. Subject, her name is Murga. Well, I know the champion's name, Murga. She told me, after telling me that if I was planning any Earth Dragon shenanigans, she'd take my head clean off. Apparently, the champion had the impression that my people were all schemers and liars. She based this on a sampling of everyone she had ever killed. Charming. Champion or not, I was not about to be intimidated. So I told her that if my people were as she generalized, then hers must be equally psychologically homogenous, meaning they were all as stupid as her. That earned me a glare before she stormed off. I win. Such a child. End entry. New entry, Cordelia, personal. Subject, attack of the Shopao hog. I decided to take a wander to the markets for some fresh Shopao from my favorite stall. And who should be there ahead of me? The champion, of course. Apparently, my favorite stall was hers too. And of course, she had to have it all. She needs all the energy she can get. Oh, but she can spare just one Shopao. So she picks one out of her bag and lays it on top of my head. Then, with the biggest smirk on her face, she stalked off, and the market crowd parted for her in a frightened scurry. Ugh, that woman. End entry.
You might notice as we go through these scenes, Cordelia's clothing has changed.
There was an attack by Earth
There's
Dragon
part of a
forces
reason
in the
for
beach
that,
today.
and that
The
is
champion swooped
she's
in
been
and
given some
simply
time
destroyed the
to
troops.
adjust to water dragons and their culture.
Ruthlessly efficient. Unfortunately,
As a result,
an ocean dweller
she's
child had been caught in
slowly
the middle of the battle.
become a
His
sympathizer.
cries summoned nearby adults, and they just stared. They saw the child in pain but refused to come any closer. The champion tried to comfort the child, but that only seemed to make his crying worse.
We also get to learn more about Murga
Eventually,
herself through
she
these
left,
cutscenes
and
too,
the adults
which
rushed
is
in.
why I figure bring it
As
all
the
up.
champion turned away, I could see the expressions of relief wash over their faces, and one of hurt flash over hers. End entry.
It doesn't look it, but Murga is actually a very sympathetic person. She hates seeing the weak struggle. Maybe that was the reason why Astral ended up taking to her and vice versa. Specifically because they want to be able to protect the weak. Or otherwise the ostracized. They know it all too well.
New entry. Cordelia, personal. Subject.
At that,
Revenge of the Shopao.
Murga's a bit of a prankster.
The champion was injured today, so despite her appearance, she isn't invincible after all. I stopped by the medical center as she was healing up. She was surprised to see me, and I said the feeling was mutual. Then I offered her a Shopao. One Shopao, out of a basket filled with Shopao that I was lugging around for emphasis. I have never seen a flatter stare. She took it anyway and mumbled something that sounded halfway between a thanks and a curse. I was happy to reciprocate with my own charming banter, and she could do nothing but glare at me from her bed. It
The
was
hell?
a
Why did
fun
True
afternoon.
Namganbedo not work?
End entry.
I have no idea. That's a hard glitch! Oops! Not in this case, the Earth Dragons were seen as OW! Oppressors. Huh, I have no explanation for you, Alex. Sorry. I'll refund you those points, don't worry. Can't see them struggle if they're gone. But at least with the Earth Dragons, she views them as oppressive and the one exception to her mercy. Specifically because they kind of genocided her entire race. Understandable, don't you think? No! Zolo! No! Bad! You sit there, think about what you've done. There you go, have your points back. Next cutscene.
New entry. Cordelia, personal. Subject, flowers for Murga.
So it's more comedy. Oh
Unexpectedly,
no, I'm
Champion
screwed.
has an interest in flowers. I was wearing a small white flower with a delightful scent in my hair when Murga identified it as a Sampaguita. It turns out that amongst the many things Murga was taught, horticulture had somehow been snuck in there as well. When I asked if she knew the name of more than one flower,
No.
she took immediate offense and dragged me to the nearest garden. She then started listing the names of the flowers there and their uses. I didn't have the heart to interrupt her. I've never seen her as happy as she was today. I like seeing her happy. End entry.
See, and thanks, Zola. Sure. But yeah, if you'll remember, the Emperor found some extra notes hidden within a book on horticulture. It's reasoned that these notes were either created by Murga herself or otherwise Cordelia. The one exception, Earth Dragon, in this case.
New entry, Cordelia, personal. Subject, or fight. I tried broaching the subject of peace to Murga again tonight. She wasn't happy to talk about it and tried to distract me. I pointed out that if she and I could get along, why couldn't our people as well? She said it was impossible, that I was one of the good ones.
Remember those words?
I was rather furious at that point, mostly at myself. Well,
almost bookends
now
there.
I know what being on this side of that comparison feels like. Stupid Cordelia. Murga found me later with some freshly picked moonflowers in hand and an apology. She knew exactly what to do and say.
Talking about being entertained. That makes sense.
End entry.
Sorry.
New entry, Cordelia, personal. Subject, a war of attrition. Murga got hurt again. She tried to hide it from me, act as if it were a scratch, but I can tell from the way she carries herself that moving about was more difficult than usual. I suggested relaxing on the beach and watching the sunset, and she agreed immediately. She knows I know. I can see she's tired. This war has taken its toll on all of us, but most especially on Murga. She can't keep going like this. I have to convince our leaders that this isn't the only way. End entry.
I keep forgetting, okay, Zol? I'm sorry. I'm just not used to it, honestly.
Personal. Subject,
I'll get used to it eventually.
Pursuit of peace.
Starting to.
I've done it! I've convinced the elders of the Water Dragon Council to meet with the Magister in Shangtu, my old home. I think both sides expect some kind of duplicity, but I'm not worried. Murga will be with us to provide protection. If anything were to happen to us, she would cut through the country's troops like a hot knife through butter. And I think everyone is well aware of that. I have to go now. The caravan is leaving. Whatever happens next, I hope to free Murga of her role as the Ocean Dwellers champion. It won't be an easy road, but nothing worth doing is. End entry.
We all know how that turned out. And from here, it's actually implied that while they do attempt to meet, both sides are ambushed, and in the ensuing fracas, Cordelia is killed. This brings us to our subject. Romance. It doesn't sound relevant at first, but looking at all of these lore entries, it's reasoned by fandom, and there is a lot of compelling evidence for it, that at one point Murga and Cordelia shared some sort of affection toward one another. Whether it was a friendship or actual love is up in the air. And honestly, partially doesn't matter. Especially when I bring up this extra bit of trivia that I've been saving up. Supposedly, very early in development of Freedom Planet 2, Murga was actually male. It's unknown when or why or how Murga ended up changing over to female in the final cut of the story. But I'd also like to mention that it also doesn't matter. They were roommates. Yeah, sure. But, like, I see this as a point of contention brought up in a lot of writing, and I want to address this immediately. And bear with me, this is the one instance that I'll wax political. I recognize I'm very much an apolitical channel, but this is the one instance I need to bring it up, because it concerns fiction writing. Concerning a romance plotline, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether the romantic partners are both male, both female, male and female. Hell, they could be robots for all I care. Heart and Slash actually is a good example, yet again, of, hey, we're presenting a romance subplot between two characters that are completely aside from gender. Love knows no gender. And I'm very much a proponent of that, honestly. To the point that, sure, I do poke at some romantic subtexts here and there within the stories that I write. You might see that eventually when I finally release them. But honestly, it doesn't matter what type of romance it is, provided that the romance is a driving force in the first place. We can then reason, using all of this, that regardless of whether Murga would be male or female, as she is in this case, yes, female, it doesn't matter why Murga is on a warpath. She just lost her fucking lover. You can understand why she's a little bit tilted, to say the least. With that clarity out of the way,